Can you even breathe in the next 30 seconds? An AFC rival wants to plunder the heart of our Russia room, and the front office is one click away from repeating mistakes that hurt us for decades. This is no drill. While the running back who carried this offense on its back trembles on a tightrope. Wait, Cliff drops the truth the league doesn't want to hear. Our QB isn't a rookie, isn't a project, is a perfect clone of Mahomes with a better arm. Are we really going to let go of a proven talent to bet it all on another cultural project? If you vibe with Burgundy and Gold, drop your like now and stick to the screen because this is going viral or tearing us apart. We start with something potentially bigger than it seems. The Miami Dolphins are seriously considering a trade for Brian Robinson Jr., and let me tell you, this is not a coincidence. With Devon Achane dealing with calf issues, Miami urgently needs depth in their backfield. Mike McDaniel confirmed Achane has a soft tissue injury in his calf, and we all know how dangerous these injuries can be for explosive players. McDaniel specifically said, calves are what you gotta be super proactive with, especially with explosive players. We don't want a long, strenuous, lingering issue. Here's the key. They won't see Achane this week after a deeper evaluation over the weekend. Now I ask you, isn't it strange that right when Achane is injured, reports pop up about Miami eyeing Robinson? I don't think this is a coincidence. NFL coaches and general managers are constantly monitoring the market. And when your star running back is dealing with an injury that's historically problematic for explosive players, you need options. The reality is Achane already has a concerning injury history. During his rookie season in 2023, he suffered knee and shoulder injuries that kept him out for 6 games. For a player who depends so much on explosiveness and speed, these recurring injuries are a huge red flag for any organization. The Dolphins ended last season ranked 25th in third down conversions with just 36.3% effectiveness. This is where Robinson could be the absolute difference. Last year, our running back ran for 141 yards on 17 third down carries in just 14 games. Those numbers speak for themselves. We're talking about more than 8 yards per carry in the game's most critical situations. But let's go deeper into what Robinson could bring to Miami. His running style is perfect for McDaniel's system. Robinson is a physical back who can run between the tackles, but he also has the vision and patience to find gaps in the outside zone scheme that Miami constantly employs. With Tagovailoa leading that offense, having a reliable running back to keep the chains moving would be invaluable. Let's analyze the numbers more closely. In his 3 seasons with us, Robinson ran for 797, 733, and 799 yards respectively. That consistency is exactly what Miami needs. They don't need a home run hitter. They potentially have that with Achane when healthy. What they need is someone who can give you 4 to 5 yards consistently, especially in those 3rd and short or 4th and 1 situations. But here's the question we're all asking. Why wouldn't the Dolphins make this trade? Robinson is 26 years old, right in his prime as a running back, and has demonstrated durability by running for over 2,300 yards in his 3 seasons with us. Miami has a salary cap space. Robinson is in the last year of his rookie contract, earning approximately $1.2 million this year. The system fit is also perfect. McDaniel comes from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, and that system values running backs who can do multiple things. Robinson has shown he can catch passes out of the backfield. He had 22 receptions for 152 yards last season. These aren't spectacular numbers, but they show he has the hands to be a factor in the passing game. Let's compare this with what Miami currently has. Jalen Wright, their second-year running back, ran for just 249 yards last season on 68 carries. That's less than 4 yards per carry, and for a player in his second year, you'd expect to see more production. Ollie Gordon II is still an unknown, being a 6th-round pick in a 2025 draft. Yes, he had impressive numbers at Oklahoma State, but there's a huge difference between college football and the NFL. Robinson will give them that desperately needed stability. When you have a quarterback like Tua who needs protection and a reliable running game to keep defenses honest, Robinson would be exactly what the doctor ordered. His experience in pressure situations, having played in the playoffs last year with us, is invaluable. And here's something nobody is talking about: the divisional factor. If Miami can strengthen their running game with Robinson, it puts them in a better position to compete with Buffalo, New York, and New England. Josh Allen and the Bills are still the standard in that division, but a Miami with a solid backfield could be a serious playoff factor. The timing is also perfect. We're less than 3 weeks away from the start of the regular season. Miami knows exactly what they need, and Robinson is an immediate solution. He doesn't need time to fully learn the system. He's a veteran with experience who can contribute from day one. I'm telling you, this move would make perfect sense for Miami, especially considering they need immediate depth and Robinson offers exactly that. The real question is what they'd be willing to give up for him, and if we would be willing to help a team that's not in our division. Now we get to the bombshell no one expected that's shaking up the entire Commanders fan base. Brian Robinson Jr. won't be playing against Cincinnati tonight, and according to multiple reports from NFL Network and ESPN, this was a mutual decision between the team and the player. But here's what really matters and has everyone worried: Robinson could be traded before the season starts. And if they don't find a trade, they could cut him entirely. I ask you, how the hell did we go from having Robinson as our undisputed starter to considering cutting him? This is a running back who ran for 797, 733, and 799 yards in his 3 seasons. That consistency isn't easily found in the NFL, especially from a third-round pick who's exceeded all expectations since arriving. Let's be honest about what's happening here. Robinson was our workhorse during the most challenging seasons of this franchise. When Ron Rivera was struggling to keep his job, Robinson was one of the few bright lights on an offense that often seemed lost. Now, with Dan Quinn and Adam Peters building a new culture, Robinson seems to have become a victim of the new regime's success. The reality is that Quinn and Peters are building something completely different here, with Austin Eckler bringing that Pro Bowl experience and veteran leadership, Chris Rodriguez Jr. entering his second year with more knowledge of the system, and rookie Jackery Crosky-Merritt showing explosive potential in training camp. Maybe the organization feels they can afford to move Robinson, but I believe there's something much deeper here that goes beyond simple on-field talent. Robinson made around $4.6 million last year and is entering the final year of his rookie contract. The Commanders are handling the salary cap extremely intelligently under Peters, and maybe they prefer to use that money and roster spot on other positions where they feel they can have more impact. Let's analyze the numbers coldly. Robinson has been consistently productive. 797 yards in 12 games as a rookie. He lost time to a gunshot injury. 733 yards in 15 games in his second season, and 799 yards in 15 games last year. Those are solid NFL running back numbers. Not spectacular, but definitely dependable. Moreover, he has scored 15 rushing touchdowns in those 3 seasons, including 8 last year. But here's where things get interesting. The arrival of Austin Eckler completely changed the dynamics of the backfield. Eckler not only brings Pro Bowl experience, but also adds that dimension in the passing game that Robinson never fully developed. Eckler had 107 receptions for 722 yards in 2022 with the Chargers. That versatility is exactly what Cliff Kingsbury wants in his offensive system. Chris Rodriguez Jr. is also entering his second year, and we all know that the jump from the first to the second year for running backs can be dramatic. Rodriguez has the physicality, 6 feet 2 inches, 224 pounds, to be a back between the tackles, and he showed flashes of brilliance in limited time last year. If he can make the leap they're expecting, then Robinson becomes redundant, and we can't ignore the Jackery Crosky-Merritt factor. This rookie has been impressing in training with his speed and vision. Though he's a long-term project, his upside could be significantly higher than what Robinson can offer at this point in his career. Now I ask you this: is Robinson a victim of the success of Dan Quinn's system and Adam Peters' new roster building philosophy, or are there performance issues we're not seeing publicly? Because 15 touchdowns in 3 years aren't negligible numbers, especially for a third-round pick who's had to deal with constant coaching staff and offensive system changes. There's something else we need to consider: the cultural factor. Dan Quinn is building a completely new culture based on competition, accountability, and finishing. If Robinson isn't fully buying into that philosophy, Or if the coaching staff feels other players are embracing it better, that could be a factor. In this decision, there's also the aspect of ceiling. Robinson is 26 years old, and we're probably already seeing his peak as a player. Ekeler, although older, brings high-level experience. Rodriguez and Krosky Merritt represent potential. Upside. From a long-term roster building perspective, it makes sense to bet on upside and experience over consistent but limited production. The real question is whether this decision will come back to haunt us. We'll remember when we let go of other players who then shined on other teams. Will Robinson be another Kirk Cousins, another Deshaun Jackson, another one of those cases that will hurt us for years? Or will it be a smart decision by an organization that finally understands how to build a winning roster? The timing of this decision is also crucial. Doing it now, 3 weeks before the season starts, gives them time to evaluate trade options and also allows other teams to evaluate Robinson. If they had done it closer to the final cuts deadline, their options would have been much more limited. ESPN reports that if they don't find a trade, they could cut him outright. That tells me the organization is fully committed to this decision. They're not playing negotiation games or trying to motivate Robinson. They're genuinely ready to move on without him. The mutual decision that he won't play tonight also tells me something important. Both Robinson and the organization understand this isn't personal, it's business. Robinson probably prefers not to risk injury in a preseason game when his future is in the air, and the organization respects that. Will Robinson be another example of the Commanders letting go of talent too early? Or will it be evidence that we finally have an organization that can make tough but correct decisions? Only time will tell. But I believe this decision says more about their confidence in their new system than any deficiency in Robinson as a player. And here we get to what really matters, what's going to define the future of this franchise, and what has everyone in football talking. Cliff Kingsbury, who coached Patrick Mahomes for 3 full years at Texas Tech and helped prepare him to become the best quarterback in the NFL, is making direct and specific comparisons between our quarterback and the man who's revolutionized the position. When asked about the ideal characteristics of an NFL quarterback at his introductory press conference as offensive coordinator before we even drafted Daniels, Kingsbury laughed and said without hesitation, the Chiefs quarterback. But listen to this. And this is what has me completely excited. Now he's saying virtually identical things about Jaden Daniels, and I'm telling you, this isn't training camp hype. This is a professional evaluation from someone who's seen elite talent develop from college to Super Bowl MVP. Kingsbury was incredibly specific when talking about Mahomes' high school film, describing something that will sound familiar to anyone who's seen Daniels play. When you watched his high school film, it was unique compared to anything I'd seen. He just had an incredible vision of the field. He didn't seem like someone who had been trained playing the position in all the different camps and with quarterback tutors, but he led and he moved the ball. Now, about Daniels, Kingsbury is saying something that should make all Commanders fans sit up and pay attention. His ability to progress was very unique compared to many other college guys. You can set it up in college. Many times you take them to their first read and they're going to let it go. But his ability, with his natural running ability to stay in the pocket, progress through the reads, the throw with touch, the precision, it was something unique compared to most players I've scouted. Here's what has me convinced we are witnessing something historic. Kingsbury isn't making these comparisons lightly. This is a man who spent 3 years working daily with Mahomes, seeing every aspect of his development, every improvement in his mental game, every evolution in his ability to read defenses and make impossible throws. When he says he sees similar characteristics in Daniels, he's putting his professional reputation on the line, but let's go deeper into what this really means. Kingsbury specifically talked about Mahomes' vision of the field in high school, that innate ability to see things other quarterbacks can't, to anticipate where receivers will be before they know it themselves. In Daniels, he's seeing that same ability to progress through the reads, that patience to stay in the pocket and find the open receiver even when he has the athletic ability to run. What really has me excited is what Kingsbury says about Daniels' evolution entering his second season. And here's where the comparisons to Mahomes become even more relevant. The game has become even slower for Daniels. He's making adjustments to protections at the line of scrimmage, and he can change to better matchups and plays based on what he sees from the defense pre-snap. These are exactly the skills that separated Mahomes from other talented quarterbacks and made him a multiple MVP. Kingsbury was specific about this. In some ways, everyone in the Commanders building is expecting even bigger things from Daniels in 2025. The game has slowed even more for Daniels, who looked completely composed under pressure last season, regardless of the complexity of the situation. He's making adjustments with the protections and can now check into better matchups and plays. At the line, having spent a full season working in Cliff Kingsbury's offense. This is exactly what we saw with Mahomes' transition from his first season as a starter to his MVP season. The jump wasn't just in statistical numbers, but in understanding the game, in the ability to manipulate defenses, and becoming the true field general Andy Reid needed to maximize that offensive system. And here's something I find incredibly significant. Daniels spent the entire offseason working intensively with Ryan Porter, the same quarterback coach who's been training him since he was 10 or 11 years old. They have been specifically focused on mechanics, fundamentals, how he navigates the backfield, how he throws on the move, and his complete footwork. This isn't casual off-season preparation. This is obsessive refinement of every aspect of his game. Daniels himself has been incredibly specific about the improvements he's made. More accurate, I can definitely throw further. And then the speed. So if I need to let one rip so the defenders can't intercept the ball because of how fast the ball is traveling. It all ties into that, definitely. Now I ask you, do you realize what it means to have a quarterback who can throw harder, farther, and more accurately entering his second season, especially when he already won Offensive Rookie of the Year and took us to the NFC Championship game? We're talking about a player who is already exceptional and is adding physical tools to his arsenal. The comparison to Mahomes isn't casual or accidental. Kingsbury watched Mahomes develop from a talented but raw college quarterback into the best quarterback on the planet. Mahomes went through that same evolution in his second year as a starter, where the game slowed down, where he began making those pre-snap adjustments that made him impossible to defend. If Kingsbury sees those same characteristics in Daniels, that natural field vision, that ability to progress through the reads while maintaining the running threat, that capacity to make precise throws with touch, then we're potentially witnessing the development of another generational quarterback. But there's something else that has me completely convinced. Kingsbury doesn't need to make these comparisons. He could easily promote Daniels without mentioning Mahomes. The fact that he's willing to set that expectation, to create that public comparison, tells me he genuinely believes Daniels has that kind of ceiling. And here's what really excites me. If Daniels can make that second-year leap that Mahomes made, if he can incorporate those physical improvements he's been working on with those mental skills he demonstrated last year, then we're not just talking about a good quarterback or even a very good quarterback. We're talking about someone who could redefine what it means to play the position, exactly as Mahomes did. The difference is that Mahomes had to develop those characteristics working with Andy Reid and Kansas City's system. Daniels is developing those same characteristics working directly with the man who helped shape Mahomes in the first place. That continuity, that specific expertise could accelerate Daniels' development in ways no one is fully anticipating. If Kingsbury is right, if the comparisons are legitimate, then we're about to witness something this franchise hasn't seen in decades. A truly elite quarterback in his prime, in our system, ready to compete for championships. And that, friends, would change absolutely everything. Look, after deeply analyzing these three situations, it is absolutely clear that we are at the most crucial moment for the Commanders since Dan Snyder sold the team. The decision with Robinson will be the first real test of whether this new organization, under Dan Quinn and Adam Peters, is truly committed to building something different, or if they're going to repeat the past mistakes of letting go of talent prematurely. Do you think we should keep Robinson as a security blanket and proven depth, or fully trust the new system with Eckler, Rodriguez Jr., and Krosky Merritt? But what keeps me up at night thinking is what Cliff Kingsbury is saying about Jaden Daniels. If we really have a quarterback with the natural talent, field vision, and ceiling of Patrick Mahomes, then all these other roster decisions are just minor details in the grand scheme. Are you ready to see Daniels not only make that leap to elite in his second season, but potentially redefine what we expect from this position for the next 10 to 15 years? And about Miami and their interest in Robinson, this makes me think about something bigger. Is this evidence that other organizations respect the talent we've developed more than we do ourselves? Do you think Robinson would be the perfect piece to solve Miami's third down issues and establish them as serious contenders in the AFC? Or would you prefer he stays here fighting for a roster spot and potentially contributing if there are injuries? This Commanders community is a family that has suffered together for decades. And now we finally have legitimate reason to believe we're building something special and sustainable. If this deep analysis helped you better understand not only what's happening with our team now, but the long-term implications of each of these decisions, hit the like button and subscribe, because we're going to keep covering every move, every decision, and every development of this organization. Don't miss absolutely anything that's coming, because this isn't going to be just another season. This is going to be the beginning of an entirely new era for this franchise. And remember, no matter what happens, hail to the Commanders!